Welcome to another edition of Ask a Daddy. I am Brian B. Childs, and today we're going to be talking about, did I do something wrong? Or is this just the way my child is? Now, today's topic is a pretty serious one, so let me go ahead on and grab my serious topic background. Let me ask you a question. If you have more than one child, right? Do you notice how maybe one child behaves a certain way and the other child behaves differently? Well, of course you do, right? Now, have you ever noticed how your parents, their grandparents, will look at you like, now that one over there, you did a good job. You doing your thing. But this one right here, I don't know what you're doing with him. You ever notice that? As though you're just sitting there like giving all of your parenting skills and expertise to this one child, but the other child you might be letting run wild. Well, that's something that bothered me because honestly, I was wondering, like, am I doing something differently? Or me and my wife, are we, showing favoritism or being lenient or being lax with one of our children or a couple of our children while we're being harder on another? So it really bothered me. So it led me to do a little research. Here's what I found. Children are born with different temperaments. Some children are born flexible. Some children are born fearful. And then let's not forget the feisty. Your flexible child, they're pretty easygoing, right? It's not going to be a whole lot of difficulty going on with them. They're the type of child that's going to go with the flow. If they're upset, you might know it, but only if you really pay attention. They're not extremely sensitive. They're not too fussy. Just overall, again, generally, they're pretty flexible. Whatever is thrown their way, they can pretty much adapt and adjust, and they just kind of roll and they coast. That's your flexible. The next temperament type is fearful. Now, the fearful child, they're a little bit more withdrawn. This is the child who might take a minute or a few seconds or however long to warm up to a new situation. The fearful child is the one who we consider, for most accounts, the one that we would say they're shy. The fearful child, they can be easygoing, but for the most part, they're going to want you to go with them step by step. Now, last is the feisty. Now, this child here, this one is intense. I mean, they're going to let you know when they're happy, and they're going to let you know when they're not so happy. The feisty child is full of intensity. Feisty children, they tend to be active. They can be moody. They can be kind of sensitive. Feisty children tend to be the children who caregivers, whether that be parents or teachers or grandparents or whoever, tend to kind of have issues with. They can be the ones that are a little bit more difficult to handle. The important thing about all of these temperaments to understand is we are all born with them. So what I'm saying is you cannot change a child's temperament. It is born in them. If you have a flexible child, that doesn't mean that you did some awesome job as a parent and you get like 2 gold stars. If you have a fearful child, it doesn't mean that maybe you were a little too loud and you spooked your child when they were younger. If you have a feisty child, it doesn't mean that you're a parent who lacks discipline or structure, right? It is your child's temperament. It is who they are. It is born in them. Our job as parents is to learn our children's temperaments and then to parent, right, according to what they need. If you have a flexible child, it is very easy to overlook their needs because, again, they're just going to go with the flow. And while they might be displeased, they might not really let you know, or they might let you know, but it might be very, very subtle. And so if you're not paying attention and if you're not in tune with a flexible child, you could be missing the mark time and time and time again. So a few things that you're going to want to be sure to do if you are raising a flexible child is you want to make sure that you set aside time to spend with them, right? Set aside that time. You're going to want to make sure that you keep checking with them regularly, right? Just, kind of check in on them, make sure everything is good. And just know that just because they don't necessarily actively crave the intimate type of connection, that they still need it. So you need to give that to them as well. If you're the parent of a fearful child, a few things that you're going to want to do. You're going to want to make sure that you give them the time needed to warm up to new situations. Now, this is going to take an effort on your part as the parent. So let's, again, I'm just throwing an example out. Let's say you're taking them to a new child care facility or a new school or a new person's house, whatever it may be. You might need to leave early that day. And you might need to kind of be there with your child to give them that opportunity to warm up to what it is that they're about to experience. Now, I know as dads, when we're dealing with fearful children, we just kind of want to just throw them in there, right? Especially if it's our son. Like, nah, boy, get in there. Boy, get in the game. Let's go. We don't got no time for all this. You know what I'm saying? That's what we want to do. I know that's what I try to do. And really, I kind of realized, and again, it's through just constantly reflecting on what it is I'm doing as a parent, that's not necessarily the best method for all of my kids. One of my kids I could do that with. The other one or two, I gotta kind of back off a little bit, let them warm up and show them it's okay, and then let them go on their own. Something else you might want to do with the fearful child is locate or identify, I should say, one person or a few people who your child builds a connection with. So again, if it's at the school, it's the same person every time or the same couple of people every time so that your child, again, has that connection. The main thing when dealing with the fearful child is just don't rush them. Help gradually get them to where they need to be at. And when you're dealing with the feisty child, man, one of the things that you need to be is you need to be flexible yourself. Oftentimes, we as parents, we want children to bend and form to what it is that we need them to do. However, the truth is, man, we're dealing with children. They're still learning and they're still growing. We as parents, we as adults need to be able to, again, not give in to children, because that's not what it's our job to do. But we need to be able to learn and recognize their temperament and, again, look for ways in which we can parent and direct and instruct them that's going to be beneficial to them as well as us. One way in which you might do that is let them know what's coming up. Feisty children like to know what's going to happen. Because again, let's say they're playing or they're doing something. They get intense. So they are, they're playing and they're all into it and they're going. And all of a sudden you say, stop, time to move on. Like, you ain't giving no warm up time. You ain't let them wrap their head around it. You withdrew what it was that they were doing. It was an abrupt stop. For a feisty child, you could be setting yourself up for failure. I had to do that with my youngest son. Picking him up from daycare. This guy, he would be so pleasant in the daycare. Time he got to the car and in his car seat, man, he was having a fit. I had to start letting him know while we were still in the daycare what was happening next. Hey, man, we're going to get in the car. We're going to drive home. When we get home, you will get a snack, right? First 1-2 times, man, he just lost it. After about 3-4 times, he understood the routine. We talked about it. He was prepared. Transitions are beautiful. Another thing that you're going to want to do when dealing with a feisty child is try to keep the environment as calm and as peaceful as possible. And when you have those quiet moments where they're calm and they're chilling and, the environment is where it needs to be at, use that time to connect with them, Really, really use that time to connect, maybe, again, talk to them, whatever it is. But just really, that's your time to really insert some knowledge or some wisdom into them at that time. So, to kind of wrap this whole thing up, you have 3 different temperaments. You have your flexible, your fearful, and your feisty. Now, these are made up of a bunch of different characteristics, but those are the 3 main temperaments. And these are already born into your children. When your children are born, they are one of these 3. And again, there are different levels of the spectrum, but that's just what it is. There's nothing that you can do as a parent to really change that, nor do you want to change it. What it is our job to do is we have to look at what their temperament is, learn skills to parent them the best way that we can. When we parent our children instead of trying to change our children, then we can see them thrive and see them become everything that God has for them to become. I hope you found this information valuable. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask them on my website at www.askadaddy.com. I got this information, well, some of it, because again, some of this stuff I already knew from other sources, but the majority of what I just gave you today came from a DVD called Flexible, Fearful, Feisty, and the lady who did the research is Alicia Lieberman. And remember, being a daddy ain't easy, but it is awesome. If you enjoyed that video, hit the like button. Also, don't forget to subscribe. And please make sure you visit my website at www.askadaddy.com. Peace.